Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate the invite. This one is a an interesting topic. If you listen to the book The Shift, I think what you find is that there's very clear and decisive language and tonality to the chapter of remarginalizing your business. And so we already know that Dana and I have just a different tonality and energy to start with. But I guess what I want to start by doing is by saying that I hope that I'm wrong.
Hold on, Eric. Start by telling them who you are first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Eric Forney, I run a real estate team in Indianapolis with amazing people that last year did about 60 million. We thought we were trending for well in excess of that here in 2020. So that of course remains to be seen. Also own a Keller Williams franchise in Indianapolis. So I've been in the business now. This will be the 6th year. From an expense management perspective, I'm incredibly conservative, and that ends up being a profitable endeavor and something that we're highly prepared for this moment in time. And so hopefully it's something that I can add value to everyone's business. And again, can be, I think, a little misconstrued in thinking that talking about expense cutting is potentially a negative conversation. So I guess I want to just start by saying that I hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And what I want you to do is I want you to breathe with me on this. So anytime that I say something about expense cutting, or if I'm harsh, I want you to understand that it's 3, 2, 1, relax. Because over the next 20 minutes, we're going to talk about 3 different strategies and tactics for remarginalizing your business. So the first is the most important strategy, I think, is the way that you think. Because what we know is that our thoughts drive our actions, and that today I've got a shirt on and it says callous your mind. And that's because I think if your business is going to survive the recession, we first have to condition the way that we think. And if anything I say gives you fear, I just want you to know that everything will be okay. You were built for this. Every single day of your life, you have survived much, much greater threats to your human existence than what you're facing in your business right now. And any fear that you have around a recession is all in your mind. It doesn't mean that the reality is not actually real. It just means that the fear is merely your mind trying to protect you from what you said you don't want.
Yeah.
And so the facts that we discuss over the next 20 minutes will be neutral. And if you hear them as negative, I just want you to understand that this is a coping mechanism. We all try to change the events that have already taken place within our own minds to try to prevent us from something that we said that we didn't want. And so the fear that you have is the story that your mind tells you about the changes that you don't want to make. And I hope that I wake up 6 weeks from now and you all say, man, that Eric Forney guy is an idiot. He was so wrong about everything that had to do with future predictions. And I just want you to know that I also hope that I can wake up and say the exact same thing. And what I think about when I think about changing the way we think is there's a passage from a really good book with some highly adult language in it from Mark Maron, and it's the subtle art of not giving an F. And one of the passages that he talks about is this concept that everything you know is wrong. Everything that you've believed is wrong. And then the narrative goes on to say that 500 years ago, cartographers believed that California was an island, and that doctors believed that slicing your arm open and bleeding everywhere would cure disease. And women believed that rubbing dog urine on their face had anti-aging benefits. And astronomers believed that the sun revolved around the earth. And right now, you too may believe that you cannot live without the newest iPhone, and you might believe that ordering takeout while you're stuck at home is a good way to spend your money. Or you might believe that your kids can't have a modest Christmas, or no Christmas at all even. You might believe that you can't stop spending all of that money on that CRM. But what I believe is that you're wrong. You're wrong about all of that. I believe that everything you said you couldn't do changes as soon as the market changes around you. So I believe that in spite of the largest stimulus plan of our lifetime, that business will not return to the way that it was. 2 weeks from now, You'll be sitting on the couch watching cat videos on YouTube, just like me. Our offices will be empty. And because of that, I believe nearly 4 million people who've lost their job is only the beginning of what's to come. And the good news is that we don't have to agree on that, but I would urge you to be introspective. Are you in the first state of grieving, the denial phase? What I believe is that maybe it's only mildly true what I say about what the future looks like. But let's say that it is only mildly true. What could you do to position your business to survive? And notice that I said the word survive, not thrive. And that's because what we know is that the number one determiner of thriving is lead generation. The number one determiner of survival is expense management. Because survival requires that you change, and change is not easy. So let me paint this picture to you. If you're still not sure, or if you're still in that denial phase of where we are from an economic market standpoint, okay? What I want you to imagine is that you're on a sunny day and that you're out for a walk. You're just enjoying some sunshine. Then all of a sudden you're being chased by a lion. Yeah, like a real life freaking lion. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why you went for a walk near the lion park, but I do know that you now have a series of decisions to make. What will you do? How will you react? You can stand there and do nothing, and you can pretend that the lion isn't coming for you, which I don't recommend that approach. Or you can procrastinate for a bit. You can think about what the best course of action is, and that approach might work. Or you can take off running, and you can run for your life. Because after all, you are being chased by a lion. And so I don't know which of those strategies is right, and I can't guarantee that any of them will work. But thanks to algebra, I can factor probabilities. And so the faster that you get into taking action, the more likely you are to outrun any threat to your business. When it comes to marketplace survival, income doesn't matter. Your location doesn't matter. Your brokerage doesn't matter. The survival rate of your business is based on getting naked and vulnerable with mathematics. And I'm not talking about the math that you've been trying to teach your kids, that Common Core math. We're talking about the simple addition and subtraction. The money you earn minus the money you spend. Let's do that again. The money you earn minus the money you spend. Expenses in a shift work just like calories in a diet. The less you consume, the more likely you are to live long and prosperous. And just like dieting, you're going to need to track your consumption and get really clear on what you're spending. So as soon as we get off this conversation today, what I want you to do is I want you to apply the second tactic of our conversation. And that is, I want you to go to your P&L. And for those of you that don't have a P&L, what I want you to know is that's okay right now, because we can't change that. So if you don't have a P&L, I want you then to go to your bank account. I want you to go to your credit card statement, go to the app store, and download some expense monitoring app, something like Mint, the app, or Every Dollar. And then I want you to get really crystal clear on what you've spent over the last 90 days. Like, lay everything out in front of you, every single nickel. Put it onto a spreadsheet or scribble it onto a piece of paper, and then rank every single dollar that you've spent. Rank them on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being, oh my God, I cannot live without this. Like, these would be things like gasoline, your fuel, anything that's profitable from a lead generation expense perspective, or your staff. And if your staff isn't a 5, then you definitely don't want to miss Linda's talk at 10 o'clock, because staff needs to be a 5 right now if you have staff, okay? And then go to your 1s. Your 1s should be, why did I ever pay for this to begin with? This is where that recurring Candy Crush subscription goes, and that bus bench that you're still advertising on. And I want you to run away from this the same way you ran from that lion, okay? And then your 2s, these are going to be the categories of items that you can do without. Like, let's be honest. This is 2020. Do you really need that expensive CRM anymore? There are free options available. there are low-cost options available. They are likely as good or better than the CRM that you've been paying for a really long time. Okay, so your twos you can live without. Go cut those. Your threes and fours, this is where it gets to be a little bit more challenging. And that's because you need to decide on three and fours based on what's an expense and then what's an investment. So first let's get clear on like what is an actual investment versus an expense. Well, in my opinion, an expense is an investment is something that you believe will generate a greater economic return in the future. So your investments are also expenses. However, you believe that the return will be greater than the amount of either time or money invested into that actual activity or that actual cost. So once we've gotten clear on that, this is where I need you to get brutally honest with yourself. Okay? Nobody lies like you do to you. And what that means is that you have to get clear on whether or not you're seeing a return on that investment. And if you can justify and defend your argument that you are in fact seeing a return on your investment and you can measure it, then by all means keep it. But if you cannot, cut it today. Okay? So the difference is you have to be really clear with yourself on what you're willing to cut by ranking all of your expenses. Once you've ranked them, I can tell you what we're doing and what I've done, and it may be unpopular, and it will create a little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra nuanced struggle for a little bit, but we went in and locked every single credit card and every single ACH transfer and every single check. Every expense in and out has to be approved and unlocked by me in order for that to happen. So the amount of denials we've had over the last 12 to 24 hours is really crystal clear and gives me a ton of clarity on what we're spending money on and whether or not it's mission critical right now. And if you don't have the ability to lock your credit cards, then maybe it's time just to cut it and or look to another lender who has the ability to lock and unlock in real time. Okay. So
Hey,
tactic, yeah.
Can I jump in really fast and ask you,
Yeah,
would you be willing to share, I'm getting some text and questions, would you be willing to share some of the things that you guys have cut?
Yeah, sure. Let me jump over. I was afraid someone might ask that. It's okay. Okay, so when I look at our expenses, so for instance, we use Ring Central as a phone call routing platform, and that's because we used to operate everything on my cell phone, and that was a disaster once scaling up. And we struggle. I know a lot of people use Google Voice, but we didn't find that Google Voice was scaling as effectively as we wanted, so we had Ring Central. Ring Central used to be incredibly cost effective, and then all of a sudden they raised their price by like $350 a month. And so what was an annoyance is now cost prohibitive. $446 a month on a phone call routing platform. There are better options than that for us today. We were doing some print marketing. We've cut that because print marketing is incredibly challenging to draw a straight line of return on investment. We had a virtual assistant. We've gone back and we have renegotiated what that plan would look like. Gosh, I teach every week, so I was getting just random like learning materials and PowerPoints and just different tools to try to put together teaching and training materials. Car wash. We have free unlimited car wash packages on our company-owned vehicles. Those we can cut, of course. We did a staging consultation for every single listing that we go on. We're looking now at can we basically pre-package or template all of our staging consultations in order to mitigate that cost. It's Mojo Dialer, for instance, is one that we pay for, and yet I can log into Mojo and see what our activity looks like. So sometimes it may not be that we have to cut something, but I need to just re-inspect, are we getting a return on investment? Thankfully, we run incredibly low from a cost cutting perspective. But you know, we were using CTE at one point in order to do some of our daily activity tracking that can be done inside of a Google form, and so we've cut that from our budget. Some of our like meals or entertainment expenses we've cut. Um,
Hey, Eric, I would like for you,
yeah,
because we only have 3 minutes left, so I
yeah,
want to make sure you get everything shared that you want to.
yep,
And I would love for you to talk about, you have one of the best client events, and I
yeah,
think you're doing them quarterly. We have copied yours so many times. So
yeah.
what's your plan for stuff like that moving forward with cutting costs? How are you going to still touch your people and bring value?
Yeah, so of course we're going to be socially awkward or socially distant or whichever it is that we're supposed to do with client events, which will of course create a unique challenge. I know one of our team members is having like a wine event tonight with a small group of VIP clients via Zoom, which is awesome. And so obviously that's one alternative. And then the other alternative that we're looking at is how do we partner with small businesses in the community in order to group our resources together in order to minimize any of the expense of that in order for multiple people to see value. So I've created a Facebook group that is specific just to local small businesses, and I've been sharing resources. Right now, as small businesses, what we need is, obviously we know we have this economic stimulus plan that's getting rolled out, and not everyone's going to be informed on that, and then how to use that content in order to add contextual value to it. And so we're looking to partner with local businesses and local vendors in our community to minimize the cost of that. And then on the third strategy I want to jump to really quickly is
Yep.
that the other day I was watching Rambo, being extra manly, and one thing that Rambo does is Rambo in the movie First Blood sets tripwires. And so I thought that we need to set tripwires in our business. And what that means is that, you know, as soon as someone crosses into Rambo territory, they trip over this line and it alerts Rambo that he needs to go into defensive mode. And so we set tripwires in our business that right now we have 52 pendings. And if we drop to 44, the next line of defense kicks into place. If we drop to 35 pendings, we'll look at cutting our level 4 expenses and readjusting our revenue generating activities. And so we set tripwires in place. But in order to set tripwires in place on expense cutting, you have to get really clear on an unpopular word, which is profit. And some of that word that you need to get clear on is how you think about the word profit. And that's because we've been led by so many gurus to think that profit is a bad thing. And yet profit is actually the responsibility that you have to yourself, your family, and your business to be profitable. In fact, profit is not at all evil. It is the way you feed your family and yourself, and the way you provide security for your business long term. So get clear on what your profit number is and what a reasonable amount of profit is right now in order for you to set some of those tripwires in place. So every week right now, I know how many did we put into pending, what's our next 30-day projected expense, our 30-day projected net income, 60-day projected expense, 90 days, and so on, so that we can start to understand the fluidity of those profit numbers and what it means expense-wise.
That's awesome, Eric. That's really great. Thank you for sharing that. One last quick minute, really quickly. We had a question. What would a staging template look like?
Yeah, we run into the same things over and over, and I'll a little bit probably defer to the admin team, but we run into the same things on every listing appointment, right? Which is keep your countertops clean, clear your closets, have you know, paint your walls this color.
Yeah, clean your vents off.
Yeah, all those same things that you get over and over. I always use the analogy that nobody likes to be told that their baby is ugly, so I come in and let the stager do that. This time around, we may have to go to pre-printed material in order to mitigate some of that expense.
Okay, perfect. And then two quick things.
Yeah.
really quickly, how could someone follow you or contact you or reach out to you if they wanted to? And I'm getting a lot of questions about, would you be able to share the CTE to Google form?
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe I'm trying to think of what the best way to do that would be. If you could probably send that to Blair, I think we could send that out to people who registered.
Yeah.
And then how would you like people to find you?
Yeah, obviously Facebook is just Eric Forney, and then on Instagram we are Forney Group, FORNEYGROUP on Instagram, or just Eric Forney on Facebook.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Eric, for being on.
Thanks,
We appreciate you so much, and y'all stay safe.